The inflation data received so far for October and November show a welcome reduction in the monthly pace of price increases. But it will take substantially more evidence to give confidence that inflation is on a sustained downward path.
Hello, welcome to Financial Stockholm. Today is Monday, December 19th, 2022, and I'm Christopher Crystal, and this is Financial Stockholm. And these are our thoughts on what we're seeing in the Swedish and Scandinavian press, and how we're viewing or we're interpreting what they're writing about. So today, what we see is that the Swedish press and the market in general is pricing in the slowed economy of 2023. And what really is in focus now is the rate hike, the hiking cycle. So will the Fed and the ECB and other local banks like our Swedish Riksbank continue to hike? Will it go through January? Will it go through February? And will we start to see an easing of the hiking or by March? And what is the focus now? Is it the inflation? Is it the unemployment? And in Sweden, we're looking at the inflation. But I think overall, the market understands that there is inflation. And I think overall, the market's looking more at the unemployment. It's factored in the inflation. And that's why we see these positive stories saying, hey, inflation was only up 7.5%. It's still very far away from the 2% that was expected, but people are positive about it. So it's not so much the inflation the market is focused on, it's more about the unemployment. And so we'll have to see what happens there. And then I think for us and what to consider going on in the Ukraine, this looks like a 20-year event, or a 10-year event at least. It'll be something that we continue to see. You see that there was about 60 billion in orders going to defense and munitions contractors. There's a good Wall Street Journal article talking about how they're all making a lot of money off the war. Companies like Northrop Grumman, and the missile producers and Boeing and so forth. So this is a development that will look to continue. And in terms of what happens for Sweden and its NATO application, there were certain people who were requested to be shipped back to Turkey. One of them was a person by the name of Bülent Kenes, and Sweden, the Swedish court is not going to allow him to be extradited because he had asylum here in Sweden and he had a permanent residency application. So there is a question yet on how the NATO application will go forward. But we've committed to supporting Ukraine, so it'll be, I wonder to see how this develops. Positive for our economy, but not yet really positive, is that the electricity prices in Sweden went down recently. Over the weekend, we saw the nuclear reactor at Oskarshamn come back online, so prices were able to drop. And this is a positive because this will be a part of our inflation factor. Also, part of the inflation will be the housing prices. We've seen a significant drop there. But if we go back to the electricity, what we see there is a lot of windmill orders coming in. This is a short-term solution for a problem that needs to be fixed. We continue to get money for investment for Swedish windmills. And then what you see also is that in the Swedish press, we have an article talking about Polestar and Geely Motors, Volvo cars, going out to face competition in the market for electric vehicles. But then it talks about a new entrant called ZEEKR and how they're down in Gothenburg. Now, ZEEKR, the interesting part, is owned by Geely Automotive. So Geely is operating now like how the big three in America used to operate. They had multiple brands under their name, and they rolled out new cars under each brand. And that seems to be what the electric vehicle model is testing right now, having multiple brands under the parent company and then rolling it out to the market. So I don't see anything other than this is a good way for them to, get full penetration within the market and get broader market scope with all of their brands. But so we're still at a very young phase in the electric vehicle market, and continues to look good. And then what else is moving in the Swedish market? I mean, Polestar is private, so that's, excuse me, I meant the Swedish battery manufacturer is private, and so that's the not Nord Pole, but North Star. So these are still roughly private, but the idea here is that as we see the market moving into a slowed economy, and that this is already anticipated, you may see the IPO offering coming next year by March, as it was already supposed to have happened by December of this year, but it hasn't. So then we may be able to see them coming next year, and that's a positive for the market. So we're starting to see a little bit of overall institutional sentiment in the market starting to shift, looking more positive long term rather than as negative as I have been. Skistar was a mover in the market that's gone down, but they had a lot of issues in the last quarter release, and then also you have a former CEO who has a number of allegations against him because of sexual harassment. So that may be an issue overlaying, and they have a high electricity exposure. So on top of that, we see a failure to see our gas prices on liquid natural gas hit any ceiling. So we'll see there. The Swedish society, we continue to have a lot of shootings. We continue to have explosions. We do have a number of house fires, but this may be related to people not taking care of their chimneys. So perhaps insurance rates will have to go up in Sweden. We do see a focus on the virus and the vaccination rates, but we continue to have a need for nurses and doctors. Within the crypto world, now the big scandal there is SBF and the FTT and what was going on in the United States. He's going to be extradited from the Bahamas to the US. And then at the same time, the Swede, who was named Sebastian Greenwood, is admitting to fraud and money laundering with OneCoin. And still on the lam is the Hungarian woman whose name was Ruha Ignatova. She's still out at large. And then what else we're seeing in the Swedish market? They're talking about politics. And of course, if you're talking about politics, they're looking at the US and the Trump launch of the NTT, or not NTT, excuse me, but his own token, which was bizarre at best. But I think perhaps this is a way for Trump to bow out of the politics without actually bowing out. When you do this many blunders, it seems to be you're doing it on purpose in order to sabotage your own campaign. Now, he's run for president before, so this would be his third attempt. And I think this is probably a way to look at it, that he's moving out. So when we look at the politics here in Sweden, we see that there's still a lot of press about how the coalition is not working so well together. You have articles talking about the Swedish Democrats criticizing the liberals and so forth and so on, back and forth. But I think clearly the Swedish Democrats here have a real issue with Nazism, and one of their key party members, she was resigned from the government, which is good, and she's received a payout from the commune that she lives in, Nynäshamn, because she's no longer able to teach. So this is pretty much a condemnation of the party. So the 800,000, I think many taxpayers would not mind paying that, because we get rid of her as a politician. So we're gutting and cleaning out the party. That's a good thing. And hopefully the characters will not show up in our politics again. So that's good. So I think overall, we've had a lot of bad news, and we're factoring in a lot of it. Many people are expecting very high electricity prices. And we're maybe starting to see the turn towards a more positive. So German business climate may be getting positive. There's a little more optimism. It went from 82 to 83.2. However, we still don't see a change yet in insolvencies. So Sweden will come out with its insolvencies by the end of the year. We'll see what's happening there. We'll check our registers. Sweden's an open society, so you can check these things very easily, and we'll see what happens. So remember, in the market, if you're short, you can make money. If you're long, you can make money. And it's all about your strategy, whether you're long-term or short-term. And we hope the strategy you employ here is to like and subscribe. And we'll see you again very soon. Thank you very much.